All right, everyone. Welcome into our first virtual tasting for the Supreme Cork, the official wine collection and wine membership club of UC Law San Francisco, formerly known as UC Hastings. My name is Charles Wolin. I'm the Assistant Director of Alumni Engagement. I work in the Alumni Association and part of the advancement team at UC Law. And we put on a number of programs, including this one, which is brand new. So by showing up on this call, you're helping to grow the Alumni Association. We want to be able to provide platforms and links for you to be able to interact with UC Law, come back to the school, and check out what we're doing. I have three really important people to introduce you to before we get started with the actual tasting. And first, I'd like to introduce you to Meredith Jaggard, our Chief Alumni Officer and Executive Director of the Alumni Association. Over to you, Meredith.
Thanks, Charles. And I want to say first, thank you so much, Jolene.
Oh,
Meredith, you're frozen.
oh,
I can jump in for Meredith. Charles,
okay.
I know what she was going to say, I believe, so I can introduce myself and take Meredith's very quick part. But for any of you that I haven't had the chance to meet yet, I am Julia Jordan. I'm the new Chief Advancement Officer here at UC Law San Francisco. So I have the pleasure of having Meredith and Charles on my team, as well as some others on this call. And I'm really grateful to be here and for the opportunity to meet you all. And it does look like Meredith is back. So I might let her continue. Meredith, is your audio working?
It feels like, is this 2020 all over again? Like, how? I thought that I was good at this, but I'm not. So, what I was saying is, thank you so much, Jolene, and everyone at Black Stallion Winery and Delicato for being our inaugural wine for the Supreme Court. We're absolutely thrilled. And I want to say thank you to Charles Wolin for all of his work he did to get everything kickstarted and running for this program. It's so exciting. And to our alumni, this is so wonderful to be able to spend some time with you guys on a Friday and drink some delicious wine and engage in this way. And I hope that if you are in San Francisco, you'll come back and see the campus. Please get in touch with Julia, myself, Charles, Sarah Antonich on this call. We would love to give you a tour and show you around your alma mater. It's absolutely brilliant what's happening on campus. So thank you so much. And Julia, if you...
Oh, oh, we were so close.
I know.
Almost done.
It's okay. She was just going to pass it back to me, but nice to meet you all.
Well, thank you, Julia. Thank you, Meredith. Appreciate you both. And now I would like to introduce our Chancellor and Dean, David Fagman, under his leadership over the during his deanship. He's transformed the school in many ways. One, you've heard Meredith and Julia talk about coming back to the school, but I'd like to introduce him, give him the chance to speak, and give a couple of high-level updates about the school before we start tasting wines. And I have a little joke with David that I'm interested to hear his verdict on the wine. So over to you, David.
Thank you, Charles. This is Milo Fagman. He will be a 1L next year. He's still working on his LSAT, but I think he'll do spectacularly well as a 1L. He's looking forward to majoring in animal law.
On this.
Anyway, I know better than to stand between myself and the wine tasting. So I'm happy to engage in that. I just want to say thank you, Charles, for putting this together and organizing it. Jolene and all the folks that are behind the actual wine. Thank you, not only for these bottles, but for all that you do and all that you do as alumni And then finally, just to again shout out to Julia Jordan, our new Chief Advancement Officer, who has just really stepped up and already doing a fantastic job with her team. And I'm really looking forward to getting out and about to meet all of our alumni. Things are going really well at the school, but we're here to celebrate the wine, and so I'm looking forward to tasting it. I didn't open all 4 bottles that I received, quite frankly, but I did open the director's cut, which I'm looking forward to sharing with all of you, or not sharing with you actually, because I'm going to drink it all myself. But anyway, it's great to see you, and I look forward to participating this afternoon. Thanks, Charles.
Thanks very much, David. And now I'm gonna play a short little video for you, and I'm going to introduce Jolene in just a second here. So here we go.
Our story begins not with a vineyard, but with a vision. A young man left the familiarity of his home in Sicily, propelled by courage and his dream of a better life in America. Fueled by hope, Gaspare Indelicato braved the vast Atlantic Ocean and arrived in a land of opportunity, California's heartland, where he established his new home. Founded on hard work, integrity, and a relentless pursuit of quality, Indelicato laid down roots in 1924 that would grow deep. And now, a century later, those same vines stand testament to a family's respect for the earth. Each grape harvested and every bottle crafted carries a history of perseverance and passion, a chapter of a story that spans generations. This is not just wine, it's a statement of heritage and foresight, a craft honed with precision, offering a taste of tradition and innovation in equal measure. Delicato Family Wines, a dream, a century, a legacy poured with passion.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for seeing that quick video. It is now my pleasure and honor to introduce the Vice President and General Counsel of Delicato Family Vineyards, Jolene Yee. The vineyards and wine properties throughout California have been owned and operated for 4 generations by the Indelicato family. The Indelicato legal department practice encompasses all aspects of winery operations, including M&A, corporate governance, trade and regulatory, domestic and cross-border commercial transactions, intellectual property, employment counseling, litigation, real estate and environmental matters, policy analysis and development, and general corporate representation. She is the chair emeritus of the Delicato Women's Leadership Initiative. She also formerly was the associate general counsel at E&J Gallo Winery. She was an associate at Cooley LLP and a foreign legal consultant at Kim and Chang. She was very involved in activities at UC Law San Francisco, including as an alum recently as on the board of governors. She was part of Moot Court and continues to work with our Moot Court teams. And she was also part of our PILF board. So again, it is an honor to hand it over to Jolene, who's also joined by a couple of classmates, and we love this, Olga Rodriguez and Pilar Morin, also from the class of 96. This is what this is about, bringing alumni together. And with a big smile on my face, I'm handing it over to Smiles over there, Jolene, because you're live at the winery.
We are. Thanks for everyone for joining us today. I'm very excited to be live from the winery. And if we turn the camera around, you could see we're actually at Black Stallion Estate Winery. There's a giant black stallion in the background. And if we look out, we can see all of our vineyards. So we're very excited to be here. We're going to taste through 4 wines today, and these are wines that I picked out of our extensive portfolio. They are some of my favorites. And we just finished picking on Thursday. We brought in the last load on Thursday, slightly earlier than in some previous years, but we had, as everyone probably knows, some pretty hot spikes in the weather, which caused the sugars to spike up, and we had to get those grapes off the vines and into the winemaking process. And so I'm not sure if she's called in yet, but we're going to be joined by the winemaker from Francis Ford Coppola Winery. We did a transaction with Francis Ford Coppola about 2.5 years ago, and now have their portfolio as part of our portfolio. They make beautiful wines. I was excited that she could join because we're right in the middle of harvest and it's crazy town at all of the winery facilities. I'm not sure if she's on the call yet. Charles, can you tell us?
Hi, Jolene. It's Andrea.
Hi, Andrea. How are you?
I'm great. I don't know if anyone can see me. I'm having technical difficulties and I'm on my phone, so sorry about that.
No, phone is great. So we are going to taste through a couple wines. I don't know how pressed for time you are, so maybe we can kind of talk through. We have the director's cut, which I chose in honor of Francis Ford Coppola's launch of his new film that just came out in late September. Can you talk a little bit just about the wine and the winemaking process and just any thoughts you have on that wine?
Yeah, of course. Remind me again which director's cut we have. The ALV. It looks like, oh no, you have the cinema. That's right.
Yes, cinema.
I forgot. So the cinema, the blend actually changes vintage to vintage. So that way we make the best red blend that we can. It is a Sonoma County blend. And the base is Cabernet and Zinfandel. So generally, people aren't used to having those two varietals together. And so for us, it's really a fun wine. It's named Cinema because, you never know what you might get at the movies. Maybe a new blend of things, right? So Cabernet, as you probably all know, is very well known for being a very dark, bold, strong wine generally. And Zinfandel can kind of be all over the place. It can be bright and fruity, and then other times you have one and it's 17% alcohol and it's huge and intense, and you're like, oh, after a couple of sips that's all you get. But so this kind of marries the two together in the best way that we know. And so the Cabernet really gives it this really great base and this really great structure. And the Zin actually rounds out the Cabernet and makes it a really beautiful red blend. So
everyone want to do a little taste if you have it open?
So normally when you get a red blend, it's going to be like, oh, you have a Bordeaux blend or a Burgundian blend. And there's specific, there's specific varietals that would go into that. And this is just really like what we love and what we want to put together. So the vintage does change and what the percentages are. And sometimes we add a little Petite Syrah because it needs a little more kick in the pants and a little bit more color. And then other times we'll add things to give it a different lift, just depending. So.
And Andrew, what do you like to eat with this wine? What are the kinds of flavors that pair well with this wine?
I mean, it is a truly like a good red blend. So your traditional red dark wines go really well with, intense meat and those kinds of things. But if you're not into meats, grilled vegetables like on the barbecue is awesome. The char of the barbecue goes really nicely with some of the darkness of the fruit itself, but also like that char and the sweetness. It has this like good juxtaposition kind of thing that goes together well.
Charles, are there any questions for Andrea on this wine?
No questions just yet, but if you do have a question, feel free to come off mute or raise your hand and I can call on you. And hope everyone's enjoying sipping.
So actually, Andrea has a very special talent that most people don't know about. Do you want to talk a little about that? I think finding out about the secret lives of winemakers is one of the most fun of having winemakers join a tasting. And you in particular, how your secret life is so exciting. It's hard to not bring it up. Do you want to just spend a couple minutes talking about that? I just love it.
Yeah. So I do lots of random things, and I like to think that I'm a more interesting person than just being a winemaker. But my biggest claim to fame, I guess, is that I'm a lumberjill, and I compete in lumberjack sports. So that means that I chop and saw wood professionally, and I try to win money. So
wow,
sometimes
that's amazing.
win more money than others.
What's the hardest piece of the sport
for me?
Or the hardest?
Yeah, for me it's the chopping. So I do what we call horizontal or underhand chopping, and so you stand on a log and you chop half of it and you turn around and you chop the other half like underneath your feet. And it's just, it can be brutal depending on the wood that you get and your axe and how it matches the wood and all of that. So sometimes it takes longer than I want it to.
And do you have a special axe at home that's sort of your axe that you take to compete?
Oh yeah. Yes. I'm very particular. I love this one axe so much that every time somebody's like, I think this one would really work well for you, I touch it and I'm like, oh, I don't like the handle. No, I can't handle that. So yeah. Yeah, it's super fun. But I just like competing. I'm competitive in lots of aspects of my life. And so that part is fun. And I get to travel, which is even better. So
that's amazing. Can you just talk a little bit about harvest this year? When I saw the owners on Thursday, Jay was just saying that they had brought in the last of the loads, slightly earlier than in past years. How's the fruit looking? How is the yields this year? What does that look like?
Yeah, so this year was definitely early. We started August 1st and finished on Tuesday, actually, in Geyserville, which is the earliest that I can ever remember finishing harvest ever.
Wow.
And so I've been making or in the wine business since 2001. And so for a long time, it's never been this early. We just had a really nice warm season all summer long. And as you know, or maybe you don't know, I'm not sure where you all are, but it was very warm here the first week of October. And it basically sealed the deal. Like if you were ready, it was coming in. So we brought in as many grapes as we could, as fast as we could, basically during that time. And so we finished really early, which is nice because then the holidays will come and we won't have as many winemaking things to be worried about. But it's also difficult to try to process that much fruit in such a short period of time. So, but the quality of the season is really great, especially the early season things. So all of the whites were really amazing. The Chardonnay is really great. And the yields were really great on Chardonnay, which is fun and good for us, at least on the coast. It was inland, not so much. They had lower heat yields in inland. So yeah, I don't remember what else you asked about.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So I think David said that he had opened up the director's cut. Any comments on the wine? I think it's drinking beautifully and quite smooth.
I was interested to hear that. So we're actually Coppola Wine Club members. So
nice.
I've been drinking the director's cut and Eleanor for many years, and I didn't know that the cinema changed from year to year. And I would imagine the owner, which is Cabernet, does not change as much. But it's something that I'll pay more attention to, as I drink it over the years and look at, what year it was bottled. But we love Coppola wines. We're sort of a Coppola family, but I'm looking forward to the Black Stallion and the Delicate, wineries. Yeah, but they're fantastic. We like the rich reds, and the both Eleanor and the Director's Cut are just fantastic. Some of our favorite.
Nice. Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
Sure.
I was just going to say, for anyone who has not had a chance to come out and visit the Coppola facility, it is beautiful and amazing. If you come during the summertime, you can reserve a spot at the pool, and you can you basically get a cabine as part of that. They have poolside food and wine service. It's very family friendly. You can see, I know you guys have to come out during the summer. It's, it can get pretty hot, but it's a really amazing facility. And then you can tour all of the Coppola memorabilia. They have some pretty amazing memorabilia. We had lent out Francis Ford Coppola's desk from The Godfather, which I think is just coming back now. They fully restored it as part of a celebration of The Godfather, and I think we're supposed to get that back anytime now. So there are plenty of great things to see, and it is, strangely for a winery, quite family friendly. I've taken my whole clan there to visit.
Yeah, we've done that also, Jolene. We've had the entire family and rented the cabin or cabine for the day, and then ate at the restaurant at night. And I'll tell you, my granddaughters are very big fans of the spaghetti and meatballs at the restaurant there. I don't know if you ever had it, but they're quite fantastic. So yeah, it's a really a wonderful full day of activities at the winery. It's just a beautiful spot.
Charles, are there any other
Yeah.
comments about the wine?
Yeah, Meredith had a raised hand, and would like to invite her to ask or give her comments on the wine.
Well, number one, I was going to say Secret Lives of Winemakers would be an excellent Netflix series. I don't know who we need to talk to about that, but I would like to make that happen. Maybe Secret Lives of UC Law Winemakers. That could be part of the Supreme Court next time. And then on a serious note, but that was kind of serious, I was going to say that, usually a blend for me is not elevated. It seems like it's kind of missing a note at the end, but this one rounds out perfect. It's like a whole experience, and I absolutely love it. So great job. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, to the other comment that, you didn't know that it changed from vintage to vintage. Yeah, we don't really want you to know that it changes from vintage to vintage in a certain way. I mean, we're not advertising that we're using more Zinfandel one year or less or anything like that, but we're just trying to make the absolute best wine that we can in that same style. So that means that we kind of have more of the artistic part of the winemaking that we get to do, and that part is the most fun for us. So it's not that we always have a recipe and we're only doing what we did the year before. This really gives us the opportunity to look at things in a whole different way and say, you know what, I'm loving this Zin and I'm loving this cab, and we only have this much Cabernet, so that's all we're going to use, or whatever, vice versa. So,
Andrea, do you want to talk a little bit about Eleanor? So in case people don't know, Eleanor Coppola was an amazing woman. She was a filmmaker and a director in her own right. She was sort of a pillar of the Coppola family, and she passed away earlier this year. So in her honor, I chose Eleanor, which is actually one of my favorite Coppola wines. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with Eleanor, what the taste profile is, what you love about it?
Yeah, the fun part about you picking these two wines is it's the two blends that we make. And so you're getting two blends from us, which is great. If you have the bottle with you, you can see on the label that it looks like someone's handwriting, and it's Eleanor's actual handwriting. And And so she designed the label, and the artwork at the top is actually her artwork. She was into tapestry and textiles. And so that's her art. And so then we got to put our art inside of the bottle. And this is a blend of Cabernet and Syrah. So you may sense a common theme. We have a lot of Cabernet Sauvignon that we use. Being based in Alexander Valley, we have some really amazing Cabernet that we have the privilege of making. And so this is also a unique blend in that you don't normally have Syrah with Cabernet. Generally, we add a little bit of Petite Syrah to help round out the whole blend. And this wine kind of has a funny story. It started because Francis wanted to make a wine for his wife. And so he decided he had his estate in Inglenook, and then we also had the winery in Sonoma County. And so he said, well, let's get the Cabernet from Napa and we'll get the Syrah from Sonoma and we'll make it together. And so it was a dual appellated wine. So it used to say Napa and Sonoma County on the label. And then after a couple of years, all of the winemakers realized that the Napa winemakers were taking all the good stuff for them and sending us, what they didn't really want to use for their wines. So we realized, hey, we're going to make this wine just for us. And so it's a Sonoma County labeled wine now. And most of the grapes actually come from our estate vineyard property called Walking Tree. And we have 2 wineries that we produce wine at. And this is right next to not the main Coppola winery, but Coppola 2, as we call it. So it's a pretty unique vineyard that has Cabernet, Syrah, and Petite Syrah. So kind of a fun reflection of that vineyard as well.
This wine is tasting lovely, and to me has a nice little spicy finish. Does anyone have any comments from the peanut gallery on Eleanor? And if you're on your own, you're probably not opening all 4, but
fun.
I will say that we're huge fans of the Eleanor, and so I opened up the director's cut, but we love the Eleanor, and I will tell you my oldest granddaughter's name is Eleanor, and she got such a kick out of the fact that a wine was named after her as she was growing up. So thank you for that. She felt quite privileged by that.
You should see if you can buy a library bottle of the year that she was born and then open it with her on her 21st birthday.
Oh, okay. She just turned 10 this past July. So that's a wonderful idea. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I have one from a previous life where I worked when my daughter was born. And, it may not be the best wine at the point in time, 21 years later, but it could also be amazing and just a fun kind of thing.
Yeah. No, wonderful idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I did, in fact, I have all 4 of the wines because we have no judgment. We have one of those little, it has like a gas canister on it and you can Yes, we have one of those. So I'm trying all 4. I invite everybody to do so. You're more than welcome to come over if you're in the Bay Area. This one is so smooth and so, I don't know, at the end, it does taste spicy a little bit. It's really nice.
Yeah, the Eleanor is a little bit more, as we would call maybe elevated in terms of the fruit sourcing, the barrel aging, everything is kind of a little notch up from the director's cut. So we're kind of going from one tier to the next. And so hopefully you get some more complexity in the wine. Spice is, inherent a lot to Cabernet and to oak. Syrah normally gives us kind of like the savory characteristics of wine. But yeah, I think it's a nice wine too. And obviously it can also be aged. So this wine is pretty bold. And if it's too much for people, that's kind of its intention is to be able to be drank now, but could also be drank 10, 12 years from now as well.
Just a shout out to some of the people on the call as well from different locales. We've got Claudia Toussaint from the class of 91 coming in, I believe, from DC, and Svetlana Matt also, who are both on our Alumni Association Board of Governors, class of 2012, also tuning in from DC. Virginia Villegas from the class of 95 here. Previously on the call, we had oh look, you're friends. This is what this is about. I'm gonna say it again, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but this is what this is about. We had Daniel Galindo earlier. He was tuning into this from Mexico City. He had to jump off, unfortunately, but sends his regards to everybody here. Hi, Cynthia, and saying hi from Dallas, class of 94. Yeah, just wanted to say that. Those are some other folks tuning in as well. And if you haven't had the chance to say where you're tuning in from or your class year, feel free to drop it in the chat. I will mention it, so you don't have to come off mute and introduce yourself. Again, interactive session here. And if you have any questions or comments, drop them in. Sarah Antonich, our Director of Stewardship, writes, I really enjoy the spice finish. She says it's delicious. So another comment, Claudia had written that she thought the director's cut is great with kale pesto pasta. And so that was her pairing with that. Always here for a pairing. So if you're pairing with, a charcuterie board or pasta or something else, let us know too. Don't be afraid to share. Want to be able to share. This is a community effort. Will Abramovitz and John Kolkabak, both from the class of 2017, are here as well. Welcome in.
Does anyone have any last questions for Andrea? It is the middle of harvest, so I don't want to take too much of her time, but Andrea, I owe you lunch and maybe a bottle of bourbon for doing this, so thank you so much. But last questions for her? Well, great. Thank you so much for coming, Andrea. You're really very much appreciated, and we love your insight on the wines, and I definitely owe you one.
Of course. And you don't owe me anything. It's fun. And I'm sorry that my video didn't work. I don't know what's going on, but it's a little crazy. So I couldn't figure it out. So maybe someone more techie than me will help me next time.
Thank you so much. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Take care.
Charles, are there any other comments? And then if not, we might move on to the Italian State Winery Chardonnay, unless anyone has questions about Coppola, the property, the other wines.
No comments so far, but if someone wants to come off mute or write something in the comment section, I'm happy to read it out loud for you on your behalf.
So why don't we, if you have, does someone
Go ahead,
want to?
Mary.
Yeah, I should have asked this when the winemaker was on, but I'll ask y'all. I am a vegetarian. And these reds are fantastic, which makes me want to have meat very, very much because then it would be a perfect pairing. But what do you suggest with the blends and these bold reds for vegetarian? I know you said grilled vegetables. Are there other things?
What we're really looking for is a little bit of fat in the food to stand up to the heaviness in the wine. And so I think maybe buttery pasta, I know it sounds a little strange, but I think the heaviness of the red cuts pretty nicely through that. Anything else that you like?
Spaghetti sauce?
Yeah.
Cheese.
Yeah, so nice. And also a charcuterie board, cheese plates with a little bit of dried fruits, I think would match very nicely with the red glass. So Charles, do you want to maybe, so the head winemaker from Black Stallion Estate Winery could not join us, but did do a couple videos to share his thoughts on the wine. Black Stallion Estate Winery we purchased, I think, in about 2010. It is a beautiful property, so I recommend that you, if you can, to come to Napa and visit. It is a former equestrian facility, and so we joke that all of the horse manure over the many decades when it was used as an equestrian facility makes for great fertilizer for the vines. And we actually, if you come and do a tasting, we have, it's like a little test vineyard. So right near the tasting room, there are rows of, I think, 10 or 15 different grapes. So if you come during the fall, you can see what the grapes look like, what the leaves look like, sort of one after the other, through reds, traditional grapes, and you can pull grapes off and taste what they taste like right off the vine. It's quite fun to do if you have a chance to come visit the Napa Valley. But Rolf is quite a talented winemaker. Actually, he's one of the few winemakers who has 100-point score wine, which is quite hard to get. And he's very knowledgeable about wines, and he's also just an extremely nice person. He's actually from Germany. He came out here to study, fell in love, got married, and now he's here to stay, I think. But he's quite a lovely winemaker with just very quite a bit of talent. So Charles, do you want to hit the Chardonnay video?
Hello, Jolene. This is Ralph Fultonate, your winemaker at Black Stallion Estate Winery. Super excited that you are tasting some of our wines today and hopefully enjoying them. I'm just wanted to introduce two of our really fun wines. The first one is our 2022 Los Carneros limited release Chardonnay. This is, as the name suggests, from Los Carneros, the most southern area in Napa Valley. Very cool, influenced by the San Francisco Bay. And we really use two main vineyards in this wine. One is our Poseidon vineyard on the Napa side in Los Carneros, and then also a new stunning vineyard on the Sonoma side. Grapes are hand harvested, brought in early to the winery, whole cluster pressed, and then quickly racked a few days after and moved to barrel. So this wine is 100% fermented in barrel, also did 100% malolactic fermentation. The wine then spent its aging time in barrel as well. It's all French oak barrels. There's about 45% new oak, which gives it some of that creme brulee and oaky character that we would love in our Chardonnay. But really what's also exciting is the fruit in this wine. It has a lot of peach and lemon zest going on that really kind of partners well with the oak aromas and kind of like the weight and buttery notes that are really balanced out in this wine. So tasting it, really soft, really silky and rich texture, but still has a lot of that acidity from Los Carneros that we love to give this wine really kind of a balanced character. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Seriously. All right, I have to say that I am normally not a fan of Chardonnay. The California Chardonnays are normally characterized as butter bombs, very heavy, but actually I quite like this Chardonnay. And he mentioned the Poseidon Vineyard. We make a Chardonnay that comes just from the Poseidon Vineyard, and it's a beautiful Chardonnay. I can drink that all day long. So I would say that this is not quite your traditional, very heavy California Chardonnay, but it does have some note of that. It actually is quite creamy, which is one of the nice aspects of drinking a well-made Chardonnay. I'm not sure if anyone is tasting this and taste creme brulee. Do you guys taste the creme brulee? I always love winemakers. You know, a lot of times it's marketing speak what goes on the back of those labels, but it's nice to hear from a winemaker what the notes are that they get. I think I'm a drinker who really likes those dirty, barnyardy, terroir heavy wines. And I think, you know, wine tasting can be a little bit intimidating, but I think it's all about your personal taste. My husband and I often have trouble buying wines because we like very different wines and we have sort of a very different taste profile, but it's really all personal taste. And there is literally so many wines out there. You can always find a wine that you like. So any comments about the Chardonnay? What about you two?
I think this is nice, especially today with the weather. It's very light, not very buttery. I don't like buttery Chardonnays. It's yummy.
I have a couple comments here in the chat to tell you about. Happy to report that John and Will have reported that they like the acidic finish after the buttery start of the Chard. And Sarah Antonich wrote in and said, also not a Chard fan, but had this one a few days ago, and it was absolutely lovely. And Meredith wrote, I taste a bit of burnt, but in a good way.
Taste burnt creme brulee.
And
creme brulee is like it's the burnt, but in a good way. I think that's probably a good description.
Yeah, like the good part of a creme brulee where my sister and I used to take our spoons and see who could hit it, the most. But on the tip of my tongue, I can taste the burnt sugar almost. It's delicious.
It's really nice. Charles, are you a Chardonnay fan?
I am a Chardonnay fan. I have it actually right here. I was about to open it, but I was just kind of preparing the next video, so I might have to get back to you on my notes, but you carry on there as I open this one moment.
So I have this funny story about wine tasting. I was down at a meeting in Santa Barbara. This was years ago, more than a decade ago, 20 years ago, maybe, before I had kids, and my husband with me. And the master sommelier from Robert Mondavi was at the hotel and giving a tasting. So you could sign up and do the tasting. It was blind. So we went into the tasting, my husband and I, and there were 6 wines and they were all covered in paper bags. So you had no idea what you were getting. And we tasted through all of the wines. And at the end, they took a poll to see who liked what wine. 38 out of the 40 people in that room liked the same wine, which would happen to be sort of a Robert Mondavi standard Cabernet Sauvignon. It was quite good, probably $20 a bottle, I guess. And then 2 of us liked a different wine. And when they took the bag off, it was a $300 bottle of Chateau Margaux from France. And my husband said, of course, out of all these wines, you picked the most expensive by far. And he had chosen other wines. It was quite funny. It's just whatever your palate likes. I tend to like the lighter European style wines. But, I think Americans tend to like those heavier fruit forward wines. And so it's really all depends on what you like and also what you like to eat. Wine is one of those wonderful products that's really intended to be enjoyed with food and with friends. It's all about sharing. And so I much rather would love to sit down and share a bottle with friends than have a glass of wine on my own watching a movie or something. It's just wine is one of those things that's to be shared. So
I like to drink it alone with a good book. And no interruptions.
Well, Jolene, I want to share with you while you were telling that story. My daughter just came in and did an art project with marshmallows in kindergarten and just shoved a marshmallow in my mouth while you were talking. And it pairs perfectly with the Chardonnay, in case you're ever wondering.
I can see that a little bit of the
Yeah.
sweetness. Yeah, cuts through. That's great.
Yes.
Now you're making me crave s'mores.
Yeah.
It's s'mores season. Any other possible food pairings with this wine from any of the other wine drinkers out there? I really like this.
And for those interested, the score between the Dodgers and the Yankees is 0-0.
That's a great like ESPN game break update. I appreciate that as part of this program.
Dodger fan over here.
Claudia is going to share it with friends and family in November for Thanksgiving, Jolene, this wine. So she wanted to say that.
I feel like this is a great turkey wine.
Yeah.
Nice balance. Well, I think we've got one wine left. You want to roll the video of Rolf talking about the Black Stallion limited release cap?
Got it.
All right, I also have a red wine for you to taste. This is our 2019 limited release Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon. This is actually a super exciting wine for me to talk about because it is really encapsulates what I think Napa Valley's hallmarks are. The grapes for this wine really come from a number of different mountaintop vineyards around Napa Valley, including Howell Mountain, Diamond Mountain, also in Stag's Leap, and then the Napa Valley floor as well. So giving this blend kind of nuances of mountaintop fruit, which is kind of like bigger, more tannic, more extracted, but also having that beautiful dark fruit character from the Napa Valley floor. So to me, this is really our most essential Napa Valley cap that really encapsulates the Napa Valley and its beauty in one bottle. Wine, we are really blending some of these great vineyards together, still on a very small lot, to really kind of build that balance in between the wine. It's super dark, super red. Also 2019 was an exceptional vintage, really warm, really getting the grapes ripe, but not really characterized by a lot of these heat waves or, you know, the fire events we've had. So really, really great vintage. And now after 5 years, this wine also is really blossoming and really showing beautiful with a little bit of age. So aromatically, like lots of blackberry, cassis, like some cinnamon, and then ripe fruit. Yeah, really dark and jammy, a little bit of savoriness, but also mostly this velvety and really balanced structure that we see in this wine as well. Super excited about this, how this is showing right now. Hope you enjoy it as well. Thanks again.
So what does everyone think of this wine? Whoever's drinking it. I'm not sure who opened the 4 bottles, but. So I actually think this wine is quite nice. It's still pretty hot. You can tell the alcohol is quite high, and it still has quite a lot of tannins left. So I think could lay this down for quite a few more years and still have a really nice wine a few years from now. But it's got nice flavor. It's pretty complex. That's it's good. That's what you're. That's your comment.
I said it was meaty.
So I think that this would match quite well with meat, obviously grilled meat.
Few comments.
Yeah, that looks like there's some comments. Charles, do you want to read through some of the comments? I'm too blind. I need my glasses to see this far, so I'd see what the comments are.
No problem. Comments section. Back to Claudia Toussaint. She says the description sounds amazing, and she says it's probably going to age a bit. So in a little bit, Svetlana Matt wrote in and said she hasn't tried it yet, but another Supreme Cork member, which by the way, we love when members talk to other members. That's what we want. That's why we're doing this. Said her and her husband drank it the other day, and the shipment arrived while the shipment arrived and loved it. And then John and Will said they're drinking it now and it's very good. Would love to hear more details from John and Will when they can, but those are the three that have chimed in so far. I'll also say Ralph made some amazing videos, by the way. So I think those were great.
Well, yeah,
really...
Ralph is so great. He sent me the raw footage and I added a little music and flair to it. But he's such a great guy, and he took time literally right in the middle when we were bringing grapes in and all the chaos to sit in the conference room up here at Black Stallion and do some videos on his phone. So I think I have to bring him some bourbon. I owe him. He's done a couple things for me there. He's a great winemaker. And like I said, one of the few that's gotten this 100-point wine, which is really challenging to get. So does anyone have that?
Jolene, I have to say that I find it interesting that bourbon is the reward for winemakers. So I need to keep that in mind as well. That's
well, it's hard to bring wine to winemakers.
Right.
I mean,
no,
I
get it. Yeah.
I could bring a box of chocolates, but I think I'm a bourbon girl. So I think, you tend to give things that you also like. And so that's sort of my good choice.
Yeah, that's great.
Does anyone have any other questions just about the wines or the wine business or what's going on in the wine industry? I think we have a few more minutes, and if other people don't have comments about the wines, I'm happy to answer any questions about being in the wine business.
I should have asked Andrea this, but the heat this summer, had you bring in the grapes early. As climate change continues to be a challenge, I'm wondering how you, Jolene, and others are sort of seeing the industry for the next 5 years, 10 years, and going forward. Is this just going to keep moving earlier, or is it a more existential threat?
No, I mean, I actually think it's a real threat. But it's unpredictable. So last year, I think we had a little bit more rain and it was a little bit longer. We had some heat, but they weren't the heat spikes. So what you're worried about are these really hot days that happen many days in a row that spike the sugar. And if you don't get them off the vine in time, they start to dehydrate and you lose yield. So if you're expecting X number of tons in a vineyard, when it gets really hot and you can't get them off, you have high sugars and low yields, which isn't good from a profit standpoint, and sometimes can negatively impact the flavor profile of the wine unless you like really sweet wines. It's interesting. There have been a lot of French wineries, I understand, are now planting vineyards in the UK, which is traditionally not a place where people think of as wine country, but climate, I always say climate change is real. So I think we have probably many decades before we really have to worry about it in California, but we definitely have to monitor it, and you monitor it on a, hour by hour basis during harvest. Winemakers want to pick the grapes when they hit the exact formula that they want. And so they keep a very close eye on it. And when you have the heat sticks, it makes it very challenging to pick everything and get everything in at the same time. You can imagine what it's like if everything comes in at once and you only have so many crushers and so many trucks, and it can be a challenge. So it really is maintaining an eagle eye on the process during the harvest season.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Any other questions or comments?
Just opened up the chat for any other final comments or questions. If you want me to read out your question, that's totally okay. You do not have to come off mute. Go ahead, David. Sorry.
Jolene, on a personal note, Andrea suggested buying a 2014 vintage for my granddaughter when she turns 21. How do I go about buying a 2014 vintage today? Is that available on the website for Coppola?
My guess is it's not available on the website, but I will make some inquiries and see what we have in our library. We'll make sure we get a bottle 2014.
Okay, well that would be wonderful. Thank you. It's nice to have somebody knowing people in high places is a great experience. So thanks, Jolene.
Yep, let me make myself a note.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Will. This is John. I just want to say thanks for this. This is really nice. Hi, Jolene.
Hi. Thanks for coming. I really love connecting with everyone over wine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for everything. I would have been on the video, but we've got a couple of kids here, and it's pretty crazy. So.
I know how that is. My daughter is 16 now. My son is 14. But during COVID, you can imagine, we were at home for 2 years, and they were at home for 2 years. My husband was working from home for 2 years, and it was always chaos in the background at our house. So I fully understand. You can turn your camera on if you'd like, because it doesn't bother me with it.
Yes, treasure those moments. I'm a new empty nester, so I miss those days.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we will.
I hope we'll have more of these. I'm a late comer, and because I'm down here in Los Angeles, and you're competing with the Dodgers, but but it looks like very interesting. I hope you'll have more of these because I'll try to come back.
I think we're competing with the Yankees, but what?
So you have two Los Angeles girls here.
So. Okay, let's go. Go.
Like nobody's perfect.
I'm a Giants fan. I do not like the Yankees or
That's
the
right.
Dodgers.
That's right, Jolene. Fight the good fight. There you go.
Anyway, well, thank you all.
Thank you. Any final questions at all, or we can wrap it up? I also put my email address here in the chat if you want to reach out. Just any member can reach out at any time. We always want to grow this program. And I will say that by being a part of this program, we have raised in between $4,000 to $5,000 just based on this release alone for student scholarships. And that is significant. If we're able to double our membership or triple our membership, we're getting into significant amounts to be able to help out our students and be able to allow them to come to UC Law San Francisco and allow them to study at the school. And the price of education at the law school has gone up dramatically. And so we want to be able to support our students in many ways, and this program also does that. So we want to highlight our winemakers and folks in the wine industry, and we want to be able to uplift our students at the same time. So thank you for being a part of this program tonight. A big shout out again to Jolene for sharing all of these selections with us. Thank you, Olga and Pilar, also for being here with us and being amazing classmates to Jolene. This is what it's all about. And thank you to you for being on this call. This is, again, what it's all about, our community coming together in a time when people are craving being together. Tom was just talking about watching the Dodgers, and there was a comment about Olga or Pilar being from LA too, and sharing in that effort at the same time. So lots of different pathways crossing, but it's really great to bring everybody together. And that's what I'm all about in this role. And that's what our team's about in the advancement office at UC Law. So again, thank you, thank you, thank you. Friday night, you could be anywhere else. So Jolene, I'll pass it to you for a final word and sign off.
I really appreciate everyone being here. It's such an important cause. Hastings was such an incredible part of my formation as a human being. And Olga and Pilar are my two best, most dearest friends. And the fact that they flew all the way up from LA to share this day with me is very meaningful. And I really appreciate all of you joining the club and enjoying these wines. If you have any follow-up questions, please don't hesitate to ping me by email. If you ever want to come up to the winery and take a tour, I'm happy to arrange that. We love visitors here in Napa Valley. So thank you so much, and have a great weekend.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Go Dodgers.
Everybody, take care.